losing weight. It can be the most selfish thing you've ever done. Jubilee did a video where they had Jillian Michaels debate body positivity influencers and activists. And it's long. At first I was like, I don't want to watch that. But then I figured some of you probably thought the same thing. So I watched it so you don't have to. We're gonna go over some key moments. I'm also gonna show you some studies and some data. Some that support some of Jillian's claims and some that kind of refute it.
Thank you.
So right off the gate, Jillian does have a little bit of sass to her. One of the activists say they prefer the term fat-bodied versus obese. Roll the clip.
My first surrounded claim is that obesity is not healthy, and pretending it is puts lives at risk.
I'm gonna do my best to not use the O word because I find it pretty offensive. So I'm gonna use fat-bodied as we talk.
Okay.
Do you understand why people find it harmful and triggering?
Overweight and obese is literally just having too much body fat. It has nothing to do with the quality of the person.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Are we gonna debate the claim?
Yeah, I just wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to clarify though.
Are we gonna pretend like I'm a 3 and you're my mommy, telling me how to talk?
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
So the claim that you're saying is that it is inherently unhealthy to live in a fat body.
It's inherently unhealthy to have excess body fat, yes.
Okay, where are you getting that information from?
Oh, okay. There are dozens of MRT trials that show having excess body fat. Dozens is causal, not correlated.
No, that's not true.
Have you heard of something called adiposopathy? Mm-hmm. Okay, tell me how it works.
So it's additional layer of fat in the stomach area.
No, that's not what it is. When we eat too much food that has energy that we're not utilizing, the body needs to put that energy somewhere, right? So it puts it in fat cells. So it puts it in initially subcutaneous fat cells, a little bit of visceral fat, which is fat around the organs. Now the issue is that once you can no longer recruit more fat cells, so the fat cells start to expand. And this is exceptionally dangerous because what ends up happening is the blood vessels get outpaced.
I want to pause.
Of course you do. I want to pause. Okay. Because it's irrefutable. You don't even know what I'm talking about. So,
Jillian, okay, first of all, I don't appreciate the way that you're speaking to me. You called me out for just trying to understand the languaging and saying I was talking to like a 3-year-old. I felt I was talking to you very respectfully. You're talking to me very disrespectfully right now.
What's lipotoxicity?
Yeah, I am not a medical doctor, okay? So I'm not going to talk to you about medical diagnosis because that's outside my scope, and I'm fully willing. Hey, I'm fully willing to be wrong. What I am here to talk to you about is the fact that people in fat bodies are irreparably harmed going into the medical system every single day because of the term, the O word.
Okay, that's not the claim though.
The idea that fat-bodied people are inherently unhealthy is, I believe, incorrect.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
There's a robust amount of data.
Can I just say, as somebody who used to be 280 pounds at 5'4", I'll insert proof here. If somebody called me fat-bodied, fat body built bit, I'd be throwing hands. I would much rather be called obese than fat-bodied. Even now that I've lost 80 pounds, I'm still classified as obese, and I would still rather be called obese than fat-bodied. I fear in trying to be conscious of others, we might have lost the plot. I found a study on PubMed called, wait, a study? I think that's a topic for
AJ the Science, AJ the Science, AJ the Science.
We should absolutely care about how people feel. If someone says calling them obese hurts their feelings, then I think it's okay to use the language that they prefer. That's just common human decency. But just like any group of people, you can't assume every single person wants to be called fat-bodied. What rubs me the wrong way about this first clip you just saw is that when you are faced with facts, like literal data, and you are saying it's wrong, then we have a different problem. I understand data can be skewed, data can be misconstrued, and feelings and facts can exist in the same world. But when you're discussing data, there are no feelings in it. The data is just the data. Usually, when people are studying overweight people, they're not thinking, how can I skew this data to make them look worse? Just to further elaborate on Jillian's point, and don't think this video is fully me disagreeing with her, because you'll see later, there's some things she says that I do not agree with, and the data is against her. Excess body fat, usually, on most people, don't come from me, is not good. Not as in morally, but physically and health-wise, it is not good for you. This means even if somebody is in a smaller body and they have excess body fat on them, that is still a negative thing, as in it's still not good for their health. There's a study called Over-Fat Adults and Children in Developed Countries, the public health importance of identifying excess body fat. And keep in mind, this study is about over fat people, not obese people. People of any size who have an excess in body fat, meaning you can be skinny on the skinnier side of things, not classified as obese, but still have a high percentage of body fat. A quote from the study reads as follows. Wait, I don't want to read this. We'll see if she'll do it. Babe, would you read for me?
Okay. Never fear, the reader is here. The term overfat refers to the presence of excess body fat that can impair health, even for normal weight, non-obese individuals. Excess body fat is associated with cardiometabolic dysfunction, a clinical situation that can progressively worsen, potentially leading to various common disease risk factors, chronic diseases, increased morbidity and mortality, and reduced quality of life.
I'll call for you again when I need you. This paper or meta-analysis goes on to explain that BMI is skewed. There are people who have excess body fat in larger bodies, which we can visually see, but it also explains how dangerous it can be to have excess body fat in a smaller body that is less noticeable. And BMI does not account for this. Later on in the paper, they talk about how having high body fat leads to a cycle of getting more and more body fat. Once you have high levels of body fat, you are automatically predisposed to metabolic dysfunction, which can make you insulin resistant. Yes, losing weight is just calories in, calories out. But once you have metabolic dysregulation, it can make losing weight a lot harder. Not only is your brain constantly screaming at you to eat, but if you use one of those online calculators that says eat 2,100 calories a day and you'll lose weight, if you are metabolically fucked, that 2,100 might actually be a maintenance for you or not a steep enough deficit for you to notice changes quickly. When it comes to losing weight, it's really important that you repair any metabolic dysregulation and insulin resistance. I actually had to do this myself. When I was 280 pounds, I was pre-diabetic and insulin resistant. For a long time, it felt like I was eating low calorie and nothing was working. The paper also says, babe, I love making her get up and come to me. Don't you just love a service sub? Would you say you identify as a service sub?
I would say that I do whatever you want.
Okay, so.
Okay, oh my god, look at the words in here. I'm a good reader, right, guys?
You're really good, ready, baby.
Okay.
Smart.
Sunday school, when they want somebody to read out loud from the Bible, I like to do it so much. Excess adiposity is a source of inflammatory molecules that can disrupt glucose homeostasis and contribute to the pathogenesis of insulin resistance. In turn, insulin resistance further exacerbates adiposity by influencing glucose disposal and fat storage. As such, the overfat condition potentially contributes to two adverse metabolic conditions: chronic inflammation and insulin resistance, which then contribute to further adiposity. This is, in effect, a vicious cycle wherein the appearance of adiposity and its initial consequences feed back into themselves, accelerating and entrenching the dysregulation. Wow, that was hard.
No, they say that you are fat-bodied.
That's so much worse.
Butch built fat-bodied bitch.
Why would anybody want to be called fat-bodied?
Because obese is offensive.
And fat-bodied is not?
And then a fat-bodied individual was
Yeah.
was talking to me about this.
Oh, you know that girl? You know Karen? Yeah, the fat body girl.
Like, it's online performative wokeness,
Yeah.
when in actuality, if you actually care about, like, I guess, fat liberation and all these things, they're not worried about the micro labels. The lady who's like an actual activist, she was not worried about that.
No.
She was worried about, hey, there are laws and things that literally discriminate against fat people. She's not worried about the little minute things, which, I mean, people have the right to care to be called what they want to be called. But also, it's like they're acting like fat people are a monolith.
Yeah.
Not every fat person is going to want to be called fat-bodied. And now,
I would not, personally.
literally, I don't want to be called fat-bodied. We'll fight. Call me fat-bodied. I'll fight you right now. And it just feels performative. And it feels like online activism. There are actual issues that fat people face that are more important than being called fat-bodied versus obese. Little fat-bodied girl. Fat-bodied girl. Oh. Fat-bodied girl. Oh.
You are my world. Oh, give me a fat body girl.
You like this fat body girl? Sorry about that. This is what happens when your wife is your best friend. You're just always yapping about stuff, always talking about stuff. Just yap. Back to the study that she read. I like the fact that this is an actual scientific paper describing a cycle that so many fat-bodied people experience their whole life. Just the cycling of feeling like you cannot lose weight. It gets worse and worse and worse and compounds on itself, because it does. Scientifically, it literally does. Nobody's saying weight loss is easy, because the bigger you get, the harder it gets. Back to the video, but I feel like a lot of people took this opportunity in front of Jillian Michaels and a public audience to just trauma dump on Maine. It felt like a lot of people justifying to Jillian why they're fat still, and why they're fat and why they don't want to change. And instead of debating her for her actual point, just telling her why they're fat and why they're the exception to losing weight.
What I want to say here is I live with autoimmune disorders, I live with chronic illness, and I'm also neurodivergent. And this is, the body positivity movement has made it so that I can tolerate this life. I can find ways to thrive, even still. But I'm not pretending that this doesn't bother me. And by bother, I mean that it doesn't hurt to carry my weight. I'm willing to concede with you that carrying around extra weight is harder. It is. But it must be done.
I don't know that I agree with you.
Okay. Tell me more, please.
Well, tell me why you think it must be done.
Because I've worked really hard to not have this.
What does that mean? Like you beat yourself up in the gym or something?
No, I don't. That's not fun.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to understand what you mean.
What I mean is that I grew up with a number of undiagnosed conditions, and even I can think back to like middle school, and I couldn't keep up when the PE teacher would make us like run laps, and I'm like, this is physically aching me, and I didn't understand why. And I didn't understand why because I grew up with a single parent, undocumented single parent. We were bound to the medical system that we had access to.
I understand.
I've done what I needed to do a number of times to try to lose weight.
What did you try? Tell me.
I've worked out at the gym. I've tried to do Pilates. Even yoga. Even yoga hurts me.
Okay, so the exercise causes you pain.
The
You do
exercise
autoimmune
causes
condition.
me.
Okay, no problem.
Right.
I'm with you.
Dieting, for example.
Okay.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that food makes very much sense to me in my neurodivergent brain.
This is where mechanistic eating actually helps people who are neurodivergent, and the research supports that because it doesn't have to make sense to you.
Okay.
In other words, it's like you eat on these schedules and you eat these foods and you eat this much, hence the concept right, of mechanistic.
I don't like that.
I understand that you don't like it, but you'll have to decide what you don't like more.
I'm not going to talk about this part specifically in length, but again, I found it very interesting that it feels like they're trying to prove to Jillian Michaels why they have to be fat, why they have to be overweight. I want to make my stance very clear, and I probably should have done that at the beginning of this video, but I'll do it now. Yes, I'm here to try to be an unbiased party, but I'm here to poke holes in the logic. The further this goes, the more logic there is to poke holes in. And I hate agreeing with Jillian Biggest Loser Michaels. But let me make myself clear. Although I have lost a significant amount of weight, I am not one of those formerly severely obese people who loses weight, who is like, well, clearly everybody else is just not trying hard enough. You don't want it enough. And shames every overweight person. But what does irk my spirit is when people ignore science. When people ignore facts and data. There are always other outside factors that can influence data. There are reasons other people are big other than just eating a lot of food. You know, there's other reasons. And there are reasons how they got to a point where they need to eat a lot of food. But I don't like it when people are actually ignoring science. And I've never seen any of these Jubilee debate videos, but this one kept coming up on my For You page. So I just felt inclined to talk about it. If you've watched my channel before, I'm sure you understand why. I think the body positivity movement was bred out of necessity for bigger people to feel safe and welcome somewhere. Because I do genuinely feel that at any size, you should feel positively and confident about your body. And I think you can love yourself and at the same time, know that you need to change. There is room for confidence and positivity and improving your health. They are not mutually exclusive. The most annoying piece of weight loss advice I always give people is if you were in charge of a loved one's body, how would you treat it? Would you feed it a whole bag of hot Cheetos? Would you have it lay on the couch? Or would you treat their body in a way that you knew would make them live a long time? If you would be willing to treat a loved one's body with kindness, treat your body with the same kindness. I wish more people understood that taking charge of your health is the ultimate form of self-love. Loving your body enough to know that you need to do what's right to keep you healthy. And yes, just like every rule, there are exceptions. But for the majority of people, having excess body fat is unhealthy. And the fact that somebody might be unhealthy is not an indicator of who they are as a person. It does not make them good or bad. It is a literal medical condition. Just like any other medical condition, there should be no morals attached to it. I was talking about this with my wife earlier, and she brought up the fact that imagine if somebody had cancer, imagine if they were fighting tooth and nail that they were healthy and it doesn't bother them. You would want to shake some sense into them. Why can't you see this is killing you? And we see this all the time. I've actually literally seen stuff like this on TikTok. There was a girl who, I think she got diagnosed with like breast cancer or something, or some type of cancer, and she didn't want to do chemo. She wanted to do a holistic route first. And everybody in the comments was like, please do not do this. We are caring about your health. Do not do this. So to reiterate my point, love yourself no matter what. No matter what size, you should love yourself. And no one should make anyone feel less than for how they look. We also have to acknowledge that the science is there. And if you really want to practice ultimate self-love, then life is more than just about surviving. It's about thriving. Your quality of life matters too. It's not for aesthetics. It's not just so you can be skinny and like, oh, so skinny. No, it's about the quality of your life. The longevity of your life. Sorry for my rant, let's continue. I hate how none of these people are actually debating the topic. They're just talking about what they want to talk about. And as somebody who loves philosophy and creating arguments and debate, it's pissing me off.
Obesity is causal to all-cause mortality.
Okay, so I disagree with that. I think there's going to be a problem with
dozens.
This.
Good
So
fact
but
check
here's
them.
why I disagree. Because
You can disagree.
no, but let me please let me hear me out.
Dozens. Okay.
Okay. So the reason why is because registered dietitian, school for 6 years, studying nutrition, weights, all this stuff, and
Tell
we
me
can't
what
keep.
lipotoxicity is.
It doesn't come off my curriculum because it's bullshit. Because it's a TikTok thing that's like cortisol face or whatever.
It's
But please,
not.
just
Listen
back
to me.
the
It
studies.
is not bullshit.
studies, back to the
It's
studies.
ectopic fat.
But can we just
it's
say,
when
because you keep
fat
sidestepping
ends
and then we
up-
can
I'm
never
not
get anywhere.
sidestepping. This is the claim.
Okay.
Okay. The claim is that obesity is unhealthy. Lipotoxicity
But the
is
reason-
not bullshit.
but-
it is the definition of ectopic fat.
It's
When
funny it never
fat
came up in
gets
6 years of a
deposited-
professional accredited
What's
undergrad.
fatty liver disease?
I know what fatty liver. I was a
What
clinical
is it?
dietitian in a
That's
hospital.
lipotoxicity.
Okay,
Okay.
so-
When fat is in the liver, when fat is in the heart, when fat gets deposited in the brain.
Yeah.
That is lipotoxicity, and it happens when the body has no place to put the excess energy anymore.
Okay.
It is irrefutable that that is bad for your health.
We cannot keep a human in a lab and control every factor, but have the only thing that's different.
Mendelian randomized
But can you
controlled
just
trials.
listen? So a person-
that
a person-
inherently eliminates any conflating factors because they're based on genetic predispositions coupled with
But can I
lifestyle.
just share
Okay.
a person in a larger, for example, they might have negative health outcomes because every time they go to a doctor, instead of being given an evidence-based treatment, like I have unearned thin privilege, I go to a doctor, I say, my stomach hurts, I get a full
You're
workup.
basically saying the earth is flat. Are you trying to tell me that having fat in your liver,
I just want to talk
having
about
fat in your heart, having fat deposited in your brain is healthy?
No, I just want to talk
Okay,
about.
so no, you're not trying to say that it's healthy.
No, I'm not trying to tell you that. Is what I said. I was never talking about the health of it. Have you heard of social determinants of health?
Tell me about it.
Okay, social determinants of health, a group of factors that impact someone's health outcomes.
Okay.
That are things like your healthcare access and quality, neighborhood and built environment, things like your stress levels, socioeconomic status. We can't take away that that person has probably experienced higher stress levels their whole life from experiencing marginalization every corner, from shows like The Biggest Loser to the doctor's office.
Okay.
We can't take away that they haven't been given evidence-based health options because when they go to a doctor, they're told to go lose
When
weight.
fat gets deposited in
But
the
you're
brain,
not answering what I'm
how
saying.
I'm confused. Are you suggesting these are the reasons people become overweight?
No, I'm suggesting that a person could be in a larger body and be perfectly healthy based on
Do
their
you realize
labs,
that
their
only
cholesterol.
7% of people who are classified as overweight or obese, call it whatever you guys feel comfortable with, only 7% are classified as healthy.
Say that was true. Say we
I
knew
can
for
go
certain.
grab the data for you right now if you want.
Say we knew for certain that it was unhealthy. That what you're saying is true.
And here's the
But even
classification.
then, we'd be in this place where, okay, so what do we do?
We work with that individual.
That's what I do in my private practice.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I don't encourage weight loss because it's unethical.
I disagree with you.
And
I
with
think it's
ethical, you were
unethical.
asking before
I think
what
it's unethical
professionals do.
not to be transparent with people
And
about the
transparent-
dangers.
Yeah, transparency is the dangers of weight cycling. You can go down the
That's
path.
a separate issue. You're presuming they're weight cycling. If you're doing your job, they shouldn't have to weight cycle, right?
No, it's not about me. It's about the body. The body is so smart. But we're animals. Our bodies, when we lose weight, our body goes.
I will say, at least here, Jillian is being a lot more calm than I would have been. I hate when people deny science. Hate. I fear that because the debaters are so dead set on being right, they aren't actually listening to what Jillian is saying and are making straw mans out of her arguments. For those who don't know, a straw man is a fallacy. It's when you simplify or misrepresent somebody's argument to make it easier to attack. You will notice this happening at many points. That's why Jillian is constantly having to say, I didn't say that. Because her opponents are putting words in her mouth to skew her argument in a way that fits their point. They are also using a lot of red herrings, bringing up things that are irrelevant to the conversation question because they can't defend it. You cannot factually argue against the claim that obesity is unhealthy. Unless you can find a study that says obesity is fine, having excess body fat has no negative outcomes or effects, you literally cannot argue against this claim, at least not in good faith. We live in a point of time where it is far too easy to become obese. I'm not even talking about the actual overeating. I mean, there is not proper access to healthcare. Cheap food is often overprocessed and unhealthy. Did you know calories in processed food absorb easier than whole foods? Meaning if you have two people who are eating 2,000 calories a day, one of whole foods, one of processed foods, the person eating the whole foods will at the end of the day absorb less calories than the person eating the processed foods. Also, did you know that only 1 out of every 14 Americans have optimal cardiac and metabolic health? This is from a study done in 2022. This means the majority of people are struggling cardiovascularly and metabolically. We have a problem that we live in such an individualistic society. It's hard to understand that this is not just a you problem or a me problem. This is an us problem. When the evolved versions of our species millions of years from now talk about how we became extinct, you're gonna talk about how our hearts could not handle the stress we were putting on them. Not just the food and weight, but from society, from work, from capitalism, all of it all together. It's all fucked and it's all compounding.
My next surrounded claim is that the large food companies are one of the primary beneficiaries of the body positivity movement.
What are you classifying as large food companies?
Okay, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, General Mills.
Okay. Now, if they were beneficiaries and benefactoring and making all this money off of the body positivity movement, why is it that they spend billions on calorie counting apps, on a lot of things that we see in society as forcing the losing weight or talking about losing weight? Because that to me doesn't make sense and doesn't correlate. But also, people that are benefiting from this are the people in the body positivity movement themselves. A little bit about myself.
Wait, can I clarify one
please,
thing?
please.
I'm talking predominantly about finance.
Okay.
Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
I cut this clip a little bit short because I wanted to explain something that she does not explain in this video. Big companies do have a reason to be invested in these weight loss apps and these weight loss programs. You love a slow burn. I'm happy for you. I love love. I love love too, baby. Number 1, money. It's money. It's always money. What is better than selling a product? Selling the solution when people no longer want your product. These companies, their food is everywhere. They don't care about people actually losing weight. They don't care about the numbers. They don't care about the statistics. They want to make you sick and then sell the solution. They don't actually care about you. It's very similar to how YoPlay donates to the Breast Cancer Association, even though there are so many studies linking dairy intake to breast cancer. And how Pfizer also donates to those companies. And then YoPlay gives money to Pfizer. And it's a whole triangle of things because they want to make you sick and then they want to sell you the solution. Let me take my tinfoil hat off real quick because I don't think you guys are ready for that.
So one thing that I want to clarify, I said it on the sidelines, which I know I shouldn't do, but it's health at every size, not healthy at every size. And you've misspoken that just a couple of times. I think it's important just for the audience to know that.
Oh my gosh. Why'd they let that lady go up again? It's actually sizist if you ask me, because they have to run to the seat and bigger people sometimes and fat-bodied people sometimes have a problem running fast. So she's less big, so she can just zoom up there. That's not very fair. I think this clip I'm about to show you sums up this entire video and what it's like to watch it.
All right, if we go back to the 70s, or like late 60s, 5% of American adults were obese or overweight, right? Now it's 74%. Like, what happened? Did everybody just have a moral failing? Was it a quantum leap in genetics?
They changed the BMI overnight.
No. Look
They-
at pictures.
they
Look at
did.
pictures of. It's more than BMI.
Which I don't agree with, just
Childhood
FYI to the world
obesity
out there,
did
but-
not even, it wasn't even a thing. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes. What happened over the last 50 years? And what I'm saying is, I don't think it's a sudden moral failure. I don't think it's because 74% of American adults are lazy and weak and stupid and pathetic. I don't think so at all.
That is a moral failure?
No, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
She literally said it's not a moral failure, and she was still like, so you think it's a moral failure? My fellow fat-bodied people, we got to stay focused.
But when you've got, random people online who are, hey, just listen to your feelings of fullness. You can't do that when you're anorexic. Your body no longer recognizes those satiety cues. It absolutely shuts it down. And it's, what was it? Listen to your hunger. Like you cannot do that if you have binge eating disorder and you're feeding a deeper hunger. It's the fundamental ways in which things like intuitive eating have been misrepresented by the masses. And
No, I get that, but I think the thing in my head is like, why do you care so much about someone else's body in order to like try and argue against body positivity? Like, say someone's like fat, obese, whatever, walking on the street, that doesn't actually affect you as a person.
Totally right.
So I don't understand why you would feel the need to fight for people that are arguing for that person to feel validated as a person.
I'm not arguing for the person I don't know. However, there are people that do want help. And I think that this can
Drastically need help.
Anorexia is not obesity.
So I was anorexic, and the body positivity movement helped me. Do you not think that the body positive movement helps them rather than shaming them? Because that's how they get in that place in the first place, with other people shaming them constantly.
I'm not suggesting anyone should be shamed. You're completing two different issues. I don't think
But
that
I
people...
think in one, it's all one issue.
It's not though, sweetheart. You're telling me that you think, I think shame is awesome. I don't.
No, I didn't.
I don't.
I didn't.
I think that these tools or things like, oh, you know what? It's society, it's diet culture, it's this, it's that, it's bigotry. No, dude, it's probably the fact that like somebody, God forbid, touched you when you were a kid.
I don't think that's appropriate or even right in the slightest bit. No one touched me.
No, not you, dude. I'm not talking about you.
No, I completely get it. And
I'm not
you
talking
also
about you
keep mentioning
personally.
like parents. I have two very loving parents. My parents never made me feel shamed about my body. It was like TV shows like The Biggest Losers. In the UK, we've got Super Size versus Super Skinny. Like, it was all of these TV shows that made me feel like this. It wasn't my parents.
I'm going to suggest that I don't think you would be vulnerable to TV shows.
Why?
If there wasn't a primary injury. Because who cares, buddy?
Now, you see, this is where Jillian lets her biases as somebody who was a key player in a show that literally shamed fat people into losing weight comes in. She states that this show alone cannot have caused harm because who cares? You cannot say that you understand that people get fat due to outside stresses, but yet dismiss and ignore that something that you were a part of could have contributed and been one of those outside stressors. The Biggest Loser was glorified and publicly available ED content. Trust me, I would know.
Most people, what comes after deciding not to beat yourself up? We're both on the same page there. Now
I
get
think
below the tip of your
we're seeing
iceberg.
different perspectives of the same page, right? And that's why I do believe that body positivity is the bridge that we all need.
Tell me what comes after. The moment you decide you're not going to say that shit in the mirror anymore, then what?
Then I should be able to consult health experts that are also body positive towards my body.
No one's saying not to.
Okay, so tell us who the health experts are that are body positive. Because if I should be able to go to a doctor or...
What you want, when you say body positive, what kind of health expert are you looking for? I know a million doctors, and all of them would love to help somebody.
But what is help? Is help saying you need to get your ass in the gym, you need to restrict your
You
eating,
tell me
whatever.
what help is for you when you go to that
That's what
doctor.
I think everybody should have the opportunity and confidence to do, and that's what body positivity is teaching people. It's not teaching people that they're perfect in the mirror and that they don't deserve to have the courage to change.
You still haven't given me a how. All you're telling me is...
I think we all are here to figure out how, because nobody has the answer.
That is not true. Many people
Okay,
have the answer, sweetheart. Psychoanalysts have the answer.
I'm sorry, I don't like to be called sweetheart when we're like debating.
Forgive me.
But
Many people have the answer. And
okay, so but you believe you have the answer, and you believe that somehow body positivity is not involved in bettering yourself. I just think that's contradictory. I really do.
I don't see how. I think that there are absolutely experts that have the answer, and it's more than platitudes.
So what is
in
the
a
answer
mirror.
then to you? If it's not
Getting treatment with a person who's gone to school and specializes in
that
this,
would be
who
great
will
if you
be
feel
able-
welcomed and comfortable in that person's space.
There are many experts in the world that would welcome,
but
especially ones that specialize in this category of medicine.
But in this category of medicine, if there's not room for body positivity, then you're
I didn't say that's not the claim, is that there's not room. I said it oversimplifies.
It
There's room.
oversimplifies.
It
Are you saying
oversimplifies.
it oversimplifies people's trauma?
No, I'm telling you, it oversimplifies the complexity and the depth of these types of disorders, whether it's anorexia, whether it's bulimia, whether it's binge eating disorder, whether somebody is eating, and Summer was not referring to you, somebody's eating because, let's say, they were molested. And now
But you bringing up somebody's like eating because they were molested. I mean, most people, that's not why like necessarily people are eating.
That's what the claim is about. It is about the fact that people who have disordered eating and trauma, I think the body positivity movement, with things like intuitive eating specifically, oversimplifying can actually give bad advice.
I don't like that these people are making Jillian Michaels seem like the calm and good one here. Because unfortunately, she is being the calm one and a little bit more level-headed, which makes her come off as more easily palatable. I actually wanted to talk about the link between sexual violence and disordered eating. There was a study done, available on PubMed, and in the link in the description. And it showed that 58% of people, at least 58% of people in this exact study, who were admitted for having a restrictive ED had a history of sexual violence. I think the point that they're both trying to make, but not understanding that they're literally on the same side, is that losing weight is way more complex than just going to the gym. It's way more complex than just telling somebody to eat right. Because that assumes that as humans, we are a monolith and everybody's body is going to react the same. Because yes, anybody physically can lose weight, but there are so many other factors at play. And I think that's the point that they're both trying to get at. I don't see a lot of body positivity content on my feed. I don't know why. So I'm not sure if body positivity content as a whole oversimplifies EDs and eating. Because when I think of body positivity, in my head, I thought it's just liking yourself no matter what. Like even if you're really big or really small, still loving yourself and not letting the haters get you down, which I am very pro. I think you should love yourself no matter what, and I don't think losing weight takes away from that. Just because you lose weight does not mean you don't love yourself.
I've been on a diet since I was like 6. You've talked a lot about trauma, being molested, parents, this and that.
Yes.
I've heard of someone mention the BMI. I've heard people use the word obese. So what is your thought on this oversimplification? I think actually the medical industry and a lot of health professionals have oversimplified.
I'm sorry if that's happened to you. I think you're seeing the wrong people. I know a lot of really good people.
But that's also privilege. Of course, you know a lot of good people. You're a rich white woman who's been on television. And I would love to know, somebody mentioned the show.
Books.
Totally.
A lot
I
of
could read a book. I've read a lot of diet books, Jillian.
Not a diet book.
Or whatever. What kind of book? A self-help book?
Well, I mean, if you're...
I really don't like Jillian's claim here that if you've had a bad experience with the medical industry, well, there are other medical professionals out there and they have written books. We have a steadily increasing literacy problem in this country, and the same people who are having these literacy issues are the same ones who probably don't have access to good health care. They don't have access to the preventative care, just treatment. And I do think in her conversation alone, she does oversimplify it. I know she says it's not that simple, but she herself is oversimplifying it. Medical professionals in the diet industry do oversimplify losing weight anyway. They say it's just calories in and calories out, but again, they don't explain to you that different bodies absorb nutrients literally differently. If you're in a deficit that isn't actually a deficit for you, you won't be losing weight. And not everybody can use one of those online calculators. Some people might have to go to an actual specialist to lose weight, but if they don't have access to that, then they're kind of stuck in a place where they have to take it upon themselves to do research, and not everybody is smart enough to do that, unfortunately.
First of all, obesity is a very outdated term. It's based on the BMI, which is based on white men. Actually, in this, come on, Jillian, you could be single-handedly responsible for updating the BMI.
Okay, but we also have waist to hip, and we have DEXA, and we have MRI.
Yeah, but let's be honest. So what are the MRI, meaning like the machine most fat people don't even fit in?
You have DEXA and you have
I've never
waist
heard of
to
that,
hip.
girl. What's a DEXA?
DEXA
These
scan.
are normal people. We are on TikTok.
Okay, how about waist to hip?
Hold on, there's also been a lot of like
Waist to hip
blame,
ratio?
sure, waist to hip ratio, but that's also like skeletal and like.
No, waist to hip is not. It has to do with a ratio of your waist to your hips, and it's evidence, sorry to say, of excess visceral fat. That's what it's for. And it's an indicator of obesity.
So obesity, that term, what does that mean to you?
Obesity, it means that you have an unhealthy percentage of body fat.
What is healthy? What is unhealthy? Like, what is the measure of health for human beings?
For women, I think it's in the 35 plus percentile.
35 plus percentile of what? By what measure? The DEXA?
35% of your body weight being comprised of body fat.
The thing that I think is most interesting is that you didn't get to earlier.
You didn't ask me earlier.
Well, I haven't gotten there. Is no, with someone else. You said, because I'm seeing a very different person than from who we've seen on television. And I think there's been a lot of blame shifting to influencers and TikTok. And the reality is, girl, that's where we're all getting our info now. I've never seen a full episode of The Biggest Loser because my parents told me to watch it and I said, all the way off.
Right, but you have no rage at your parents whatsoever, right?
Oh, well, I'm not fat because of the age of my
all
parents.
the way off? That doesn't sound like a primary wound telling your parents to all the way off.
The
Is that
primary
not evidence of what I'm saying?
Totally. Primary wound plus genetics plus whatever choices I make in my life is where what
can I ask you something? Pick the argument I want to have. Do you want to have a debate?
I want to hear who you are on the show, who that person is and was, and who this person is now, because
Same
I'm seeing
person. It's not at all. Can I say something? You just told me you never watched an episode of Big.
Oh, but I've seen TikTok clips. I saw the documentary. I mean,
have you ever seen a full episode? Let's say with one of my contestants like Abby Wright.
Tell me about the show. Tell me whatever. Tell me who you were on the show. Tell me where that Jillian Michaels. Because to be honest, we've all
talked.
Sure.
Okay, I'm the exact same person that you see now. Now, of course, yes, you would see parts of what I was doing. You would never see the entire picture of what I was doing, and you'd never understand why I was doing it. So let me address the part that you're thinking of. Okay, I had a contestant, 500 pounds. This contestant in particular had an exceptionally traumatic background. Can I tell you about it, or you don't care? Okay. So her mother was a prostitute.
Sex worker, we say now.
Her mother was a sex worker, if that makes you feel
sex
safer.
Work is real work.
Okay. That's a separate debate. And I'm not, let's stay on point. Let's stay on point before we get into all the woke ideology. So
I want to talk about a few things. First thing, I appreciate how, I think her name's Marcy, brought up how flawed the BMI is. Because then this allowed Jillian to bring up other data points they can use. At the end of the day, I'm going to sound like a dick. You don't need a DEXA, an MRI, or any of these scans to tell when you're bigger if you have excess body fat, especially if you do fall into the obesity category. Because for many, BMI is unhelpful, especially for people of color and people who have different fat distributions. For instance, some people genetically carry most of their fat in their hips and their legs, meaning if they don't really have that much belly fat, their visceral fat is pretty low, which means, unfortunately, they will have better health outcomes than somebody who has most of their fat in an apple shape around their midsection. And that is just up to genetics, where your body chooses to store fat. But insulin resistance will make you carry more fat abdominally. When we use BMI, even bodybuilders could be classified as obese because they might have too much muscle that they weigh more than they should for their height. So it doesn't actually calculate how much fat a person has. I will use myself as an example. When I was 5'4", 280 pounds, I was categorized as severely obese. And I don't think I needed a BMI, DEXA, MRI, or anything to tell me that. When I was overweight to the point where I looked the way I did, there was no need for anything to tell me that I need to lose weight. I knew I needed to. I could tell, having more pain, mobility issues, a flare in my autoimmune disease. And sometimes I sit here and I get a chill up my spine and a fear of if I would have let myself go further than I had, be above 280, and I get so scared thinking about how that would have affected my body and how dangerous that could have been. Like it truly is such a vicious cycle to be in, like gaining weight. And it makes me scared sometimes. I'm like, I could have gone up to 400 pounds. I could have just kept going and going and going. And I know that would have just been disastrous for my health. And I feel extremely privileged and lucky that I was able to start losing weight before it got to a point where I was already fully diabetic. It's like I'm saying, if you're in a much bigger body, you don't need these MRIs or DEXA scans to tell you that you have excess fat. It's more when you get into a smaller body where it can be very helpful when you can't visually tell as easily if somebody has excess fat on them. Because remember, like I said, having excess fat on you at any size can be dangerous. And excess fat doesn't mean you shouldn't have any fat. Everybody should have some fat on them. That's just normal. That's healthy. But it's the excess that becomes an issue. Additionally, I feel like the person who's debating Jillian is policing her way too much. It distracts from her point when she's trying to make another point about sex work while Jillian is talking about the debate at hand. Not that I don't agree with her, it's just bad debate etiquette. Again, I haven't watched any of these Jubilee debates before, so maybe this is normal, but it's just, do people not have debate etiquette? So my wife had no idea who Jillian Michaels really was. She had never watched the show Biggest Loser as a child. Lucky her. But when I showed her a few clips from this video, she was like, maybe Jillian is an asshole, but these people are making me want to take her side because of how they're coming for her. Hey, yo. Like, this girl seems like she just wants to get her. She wants to get a gotcha moment. So it makes it seem like she's not listening to what she's actually saying.
My concern is that when I've worked with people who are obese or overweight, they don't appreciate, they feel victimized. And by the way, they have been victimized at one point or another in their lives. But if I cannot show them that where they are now is ultimately their own choosing, then they're fundamentally disempowered to make a different choice. So hear me out on shame for a second. So the movement is like, diet culture does this to me. And I have a whole list of stuff that, beauty standards does this to me, media does this to me, all these different things do this to you. To me, that is a screen, it's a projection for when you actually first felt unloved, unsupported, not validated, right? And it's so much easier to say, like, Victoria's Secret is me instead of my mother never came to any of my sporting events. My father was an alcoholic who never showed up for me. All of these different primal wounds that occur when we're making about this shit on the outside. Gives a fuck.
See, I can understand the beginning. She says, unless people can see that it's their own actions that got them to where they are now, it might be hard for them to understand that they have the agency to change. But what I do have to say is that when she says, who cares about these external factors, like the beauty industry in her show, she's trying to make it seem like those things don't matter. It matters where it actually stems from. I feel like this is her just trying to justify the role that she played in ED culture and this bad stigma we have around fat people. The fact that young people, me as a young person, like back in the day, watched a show that was essentially fat people shamed for being fat and then praised when they got thinner in the most extreme way possible. So yes, even though it is important to recognize and realize where these feelings come from. What was the root cause that made you want to start overeating, essentially? We cannot negate the role that society and social media play into people hating themselves. It's not just about weight, but people have other insecurities that are made so much worse by social media, and we cannot ignore that. You can't just say, who cares? Clearly people care. Clearly people do. So even if you don't care, Jillian Michaels, even if you think, well, I don't care what people say about me online, not everybody's the same. Even if you think it's wrong, people are allowed to have their feelings hurt by something.
Healthy shame is if I acted like a douche to one of you, and I went home tonight and I was like, oh God, I was feeling insecure, I was feeling overwhelmed, I acted like an asshole. I regret that. How can I change that next time? That's gonna be something very different. Just wait, just hold on. Okay, then something toxic shame, you're bad. Not the thing you did could improve, not being analytical and exploring your behavior and agreeing to change it. So toxic shame is the internalization of not being good enough, right? Yeah. So what I'm trying to illustrate is that many of the people who end up in that position feeling that way have chosen that feeling because it is safer than accepting you were primally abandoned as a kid. So the idea is that if you can be better, then you'll get what you need. If I'm externalizing shame on shit like diet culture, this origin wound never gets healed. And if I don't accept that it wasn't them who did this to me, if I can say, wow, I let this defense structure build inside of me to protect myself at a time when it meant my psychological survival, but now this is no longer serving me, I think that's a better way to work it through.
Okay. How did we go from the word body positivity to shame? This is an umbrella that we're looking at. We're talking about diet culture, which is like such like a micro point in the movement. Like, we're not just talking about big bodies, we're talking about all bodies. So
all bodies don't feel shame?
But shame, I mean,
it is a core
we're
tenet
talking
of the
about positive.
movement.
Have you ever felt shame?
Of course.
Shame is not size exclusive.
I didn't say it was.
But then why is a movement that was created to make people feel better about the body
How
that
does it
they're
do
in?
that? Tell me. You don't think it has a protocol for addressing shame? It's pretty explicit.
No, but have you ever been in a bigger body?
Yeah, it was 175 pounds at 13, 5 feet tall.
Okay. I also was overweight previously. Like, when everybody is telling you that you are not good the way that you are, like, you have to like love yourself. You have to invite love into the space.
How?
By looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself, I'm beautiful.
It's not gonna work, kid.
It does
It's
work.
an SNL skit.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
I personally think it's pretty obvious why Jillian is talking about shame, because the whole point of the body positivity movement is to not feel shame about your body. She is talking about how people are just externalizing their feelings of shame, and instead of looking at society, they need to look inward. And I agree that a lot of shame around food and your body comes from inward, comes from something deep inside, maybe from your childhood or something. We cannot ignore the external factors that make people feel so much worse. Both things can be true at the same time. I'm not understanding why they can't just both be true. Diet culture can harm people, and they can have trauma. For example, there are people out there who will not take a GLP-1 who probably really need to because they are anti-diet culture. That is another way that diet culture could be influencing them. Yes, some people are taking it because of diet culture and they're like, oh, I want to be skinny. But some people need to take it and aren't taking it because they want to be so anti-diet culture, which can again be a bad thing. But let's remember, these weight loss drugs are drugs. They are medicine. They were not created just to make people lose weight. They were created to help people with insulin resistance, people with high blood pressure. Ozempic was literally created for people with type 2 diabetes. Here's what I'll say. I understand that no matter what, those external factors in diet culture, they will be there. So it is important that you are doing what you need to do to heal those internal parts of yourself, the things that you actually have the control over. Also, scientifically, speaking positively about yourself into yourself does directly affect how you see the world. There was a meta-analysis done by the American Psychological Association where they looked to find what's up with positive affirmations. People talk about it, but does it actually work? And this is a quote from their conclusion. It's short, so I'm going to read it. Sorry for the disappointment. Self-affirmation significantly contributed to the enhancement of well-being, offering not only immediate psychological relief, but also sustained effects over time. For somebody who is so stuck on science, like me, and like apparently Jillian Michaels, it is crazy to me that she would completely disregard the benefits of positive self-talk in terms of quality of life and people actually loving themselves. This is not just speculation. It's not just woo, 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 woo. This is something that is actually true and has been studied time after time again. Positive affirmations can actually shape how your brain is perceiving the world around you. When you talk negatively about yourself, it shapes how you treat the world around you and how you treat yourself. And even at some point in this whole debate, she talks about how she had a client who had so much negative self-talk and all this stuff, and they had to work through all that kind of stuff. And so if she understands that negative self-talk is bad, why can't she understand that positive self-talk is good?
First of all, that is a life or death intervention on a ticking clock.
But do you look at
That's
me and
not
see a life or
parenting.
death need for an intervention right now? Be honest.
Yeah.
You might.
I do. We don't have a ticking clock.
If Jillian Michaels sat across from me and said this to me, I would not be so calm. I might cry. She essentially said,
she's fat.
The rest of this episode, it can be summed up by Jillian Michaels just saying over and over again, you being fat is because of internal things, not because of external things. Please don't blame my show. It's because on the inside, you're just very broken inside. That's why you're fat. The external world has nothing to do with it. As much as I can see where she's trying to come from, that there are things that are actually in your control that you should change, like emotionally, that can help you get to the root of the problem. Finding out why you are using food to cope. That the shame you are feeling is because of something deeper. It just feels slightly idiotic to me to completely gloss over and ignore that society and your environment might have a role in how you feel about yourself. One of the debaters really brings up that at every turn she feels like she's being told to be smaller. And Jillian just kind of dismisses it. She's kind of like, where's this coming from? What happened to you as a child? It makes it seem like you shouldn't care what people are saying about you. It feels the equivalent of if you were bullied as a child, then you'll understand this. When you're bullied and you tell your parent or you tell a teacher and they just say, ignore it. That's what it feels like. People literally telling Jillian, hey, in society, it makes me feel really bad that there's shows about how gross fat people are and like forcing them to lose weight in an unhealthy way and essentially shaming them on live TV and then praising them when they are so skinny and all around me, all I see is ads for Ozempic. All I see are people who are emaciated on my TVs, and I'm being yelled at and told that I need to lose weight and I'm so ugly for being fat. And Jillian's like, well, that's not the actual reason. Look inside of yourself. Were you touched as a child? And that's actually probably why you're fat. And you need to focus on that and not focus on external factors. Again, both things can be true. There is room for both types of trauma. It does not need to be one or the other. In conclusion, Julian Lesbian Michaels had some good points. She brought up the science as to why having excess body fat can be dangerous for you. Yes, there's no disease that only fat people get, but having high levels of body fat does put you at increased risk of so many diseases. Jillian was calmish for most of this, which is why I think for an outsider looking in, it would be easier to understand and see her point of view. Even when she was being invalidating, I could see how an outsider would see this and be like, she's clearly in the right. Which I will say, for most of these topics, she was the only one who actually debated the actual question. Nobody else had anything to say that was of value. But in comparison to her calm demeanor, other people came off as angry and loud. So it was really easy to side with Jillian because she was being purposely extra calm in this, which makes her seem more reliable, more believable, more level-headed, and like she has her shit together. A lot of the debaters brought up really good points, but they did a poor job debating the actual topic, which again made them seem less credible and reliable. When you're trying to fight data with feelings, you are always gonna lose, which is why she's able to come off as more palatable, because she's using actual science. She's using facts. But I will say the moment the topic strays away from logic and facts, she does seem to struggle to keep up the empathetic side of things. But don't get me wrong, she was still definitely empathetic during this, because this whole episode felt like people just trauma dumping on her. And she was kind about that. But I'm still not understanding, again, how she can understand that internal factors play a role, but thinks you should just ignore external factors. If you would like to tell me below what you think about that point, let me know. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what she said. Maybe she understands it, but she's just not verbally explaining the role it plays because it doesn't fit with her argument or her narrative or something. But again, if somebody says, hey, I have this data and it says this and this and this, and you say, I don't believe that, I'm gonna scream. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Sorry this video's a day late. Make sure to subscribe, give it a like, give it a hype. If you're interested in following me on Instagram, it's at AJTalksAlot. Remember, all the studies I mentioned will be in the description below. Stream my song Lizzie. Bye.
I thought love had to hurt, but then I'm hurt. The night the stars took gold, brighter than I'd ever seen before. She brought